It's week 2 of Explore the Bible here in the fall of 2021, continuing in the book of Philippians. Another great passage that we're going to look at in Philippians chapter 1 in a verse that probably many of you will recognize if you haven't memorized it. One of the favorites for a lot of people. So last week we had verse 6 that we love, and today we'll see another one of those great verses as we go through Philippians chapter 1. Okay. Paul writes, "Now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually advanced the gospel, so that it has become known throughout the whole imperial guard and to everyone else that my imprisonment is because I am in Christ. Most of the brothers have gained confidence in the Lord for my imprisonment and dare even more to speak the word fearlessly." Okay, Paul is in jail for his faith, and he is encouraging the Philippians out of this imprisonment that he has, because there are a lot of people that might look at that and go, well, I mean, there's several ways, I guess. One is, why should I be a Christian if you're going to end up getting thrown in jail? One is, what's he doing wrong if he got thrown in jail? Right? The government would never put somebody in jail that doesn't belong there. Right? Everybody agrees with that statement. We know that's not true, right? But he says, I want you to know, okay, that this has been good, that my going to jail has advanced the gospel. How about that? He says, so Paul doesn't mind going to jail if it pushes the gospel. And we're going to see that in Philippians, man, his focus is singular, okay? Because it has become known throughout the whole imperial guard and to everybody else that I'm here because I'm in Christ. He says, everybody knows. Now, I wonder how it is they came to know that. You know, Paul's in jail, he's preaching, he's talking to the guards, he's talking to the prisoners, everybody that he talks to, he's telling them about Christ. They all know why he's there. It's clear, it's obvious why he's there. So it's not that he did something else and, oh, well, that Paul, he's a scoundrel, you know. It's not that. They all know why he's in jail. He's in jail because he's been preaching Christ. That's what's going on. And in so doing, the cause has gone forward that there are a lot of people who've heard the gospel that never would have heard the gospel before. He's in that place, and people are hearing about Christ that may have never been in a church, that may have never crossed paths with somebody else that knew Christ. So they're hearing the gospel when they might not have before. But not only that, he says, that most of the brothers have gained confidence in the Lord for my imprisonment and dare even more to speak the word. So he's saying, look, the people around me that were believers when I got arrested, instead of them losing their confidence and walking away, they have become bolder, right? They've gained confidence from my imprisonment. They are even more fearless in the way they're going about sharing the gospel. So not only have those around Paul where he's been in prison, have they heard the gospel when they may not have, but those who are outside of the prison, who were his followers and were his brothers, who were alongside him, they've become more bold in their sharing, whereas before they may have just let Paul do it. Well, now they're doing it, right? They're more bold. But I want to point to you this key word here. Most of them have looked at it that way. Not everybody has. Some people have looked at it as a way of kind of taking advantage of what's going on. Paul's out of the way. Now we can step in, right? And there are some that come in with ill-conceived ideas about why Paul's in prison, about what the gospel is about influence and the power of fame or glory that comes, and they're trying to step in and take. Most of them have been preaching the gospel out of pure motives, wanting to further the gospel, but some have come in with a desire to gain fame for themselves, to take some of Paul's following away, to abscond those who have been following and lead them away, take them away from the gospel, to take them away from the church. So there are others that stepped in. Now, don't be surprised when lost people act like lost people, right? Don't be surprised when devious people act deviously. Don't be surprised at that. But we are encouraged that most of those believers have walked in and done it the right way. But even some of the believers have not done as well. But Paul says his response to that is, what does it matter? If some have preached me out of bad motives, trying to gain power or gain influence, or run down Paul for what he did, and he got thrown in jail. He can't follow him. He's not a good preacher. Good preachers don't get thrown in jail, right? He says, what does it matter? Here's the only thing that matters to Paul. And this is, you see this, his clear focus, right? Only that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is proclaimed. And in this I rejoice. Yes, and I will continue to rejoice because I know that this will lead to my salvation through your prayers and help from the Spirit of Jesus Christ. Okay, just real clear. When he talks about his own salvation here, he's not talking about eternal salvation. He's talking about getting out of the situation that he's in at that point, that God's going to get him out one way or another. We'll talk about that in a minute, right? But look, I want you to see in this verse 18, Paul's very clear focus. Here's the only thing Paul's really concerned about. Christ is proclaimed. That's it. As long as Christ is proclaimed, as long as people are preaching Jesus, I don't care if they're doing it out of bad motives, if they think they're going to get rich doing it. I don't care. As long as they're preaching Jesus truthfully, they're accurately portraying what the gospel is. I don't care what their motives are. I just want them to preach Jesus. He is singularly focused on Christ and proclaiming Christ. Okay? Because he knows ultimately God's going to get him through this. God's going to get him through this. So he's not worried. Don't worry about me. In a sense, don't even worry about the church. God's going to take care of the church. Okay? My eager expectation and hope is that I will not be ashamed about anything, but that now as always, with all courage, Christ will be highly honored in my body, whether by life or by death. For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. That's verse 21, right? Paul says, my eager expectation and my hopes is what I fully expect to happen is that when all this is said and done, I'm not going to be ashamed. I won't be ashamed of what happens. Christ is going to come to my rescue, whether by life or by death. Christ will come to my rescue. As always, with all courage, Christ will be honored in my body. He will be honored. I will not be ashamed. Man, Paul is determined to honor Christ, to preach Christ, that Christ would be in the preeminent place in his life, that Christ gains preeminent. Christ is not first among many priorities. Christ is the priority for Paul, the priority. And I think, sometimes we talk about joy, right? How do you define joy? Is Jesus, others, and you. Okay, and I get that, but I think Paul probably would not agree with that. Paul would probably say, no, it's just Jesus. It's just about Jesus. It's not about you at all. Not about me at all. It's about Jesus. And that he would be honored. And that's his deal. Whether by life or by death. My eager expectation and hope is that I will not be ashamed about anything. He says, I have full confidence that I am not going to be ashamed. If I live, Christ is going to be honored. And if I die, Christ is going to be honored. He says, for me, to live is Christ. As long as I'm alive, I'm talking about Jesus. And to die is gain. When I die, I get to go be with Jesus. So either way, he says, I win in this deal. I'm going to win because I have determined that I'm going to honor Christ in my life. One way or another. He will be honored. I will not be ashamed. I will not turn my back. I will not walk away from the gospel. I will not walk away from Christ. And man, he's had plenty of opportunities to do that, and he has determined that he will not do that, right? Because I am persuaded of this, he says. I know that I will remain and continue with all of you for your progress and joy in the faith, so that because of my coming to you again, your boasting in Christ Jesus may abound. I am persuaded this. I am going to remain. I'm going to continue. I'm going to be continuing to help you grow, to help your progress, your walk, your growth, and joy in the faith, because you have boasted in Christ Jesus. I want you to boast in him even more. He has commended their faith, and he is saying, I want it to be even more. I want to see that even more. Not that I, Paul, would have anything, but that you would have more faith. This selfless, complete, he is completely consumed by Christ. Christ is all that matters to Paul. That Christ be proclaimed. He says, I don't care if they talk bad about me. Just talk good about Jesus. I don't care if I die. As long as Jesus is made known, that's all that matters to me. I don't care what happens to me. I know what I'm going to do. I know how I'm going to live, and Christ will be exalted in my life one way or the other, by life or by death. If I die, I'm going to be with him. If I live, I'm talking about Jesus. This is what my focus is. Man, what a challenge to us, right? Of how we should live our lives and what our focus should be, where we should be really putting our emphasis of our own lives, where it should be. It's a challenge. And thanks for watching. I hope this helps as you study, as you prepare, as you teach. God bless you for doing that. I really do appreciate your watching. Subscribe to the channel. Like, comment, share it with others. Let them know about it. We're continuing to grow. We're going to have a great time as we continue to go through the book of Philippians. God bless you. We'll see you next week.